Alright, y'all. Look, I'm not wasting no time. This was another great week betting wise. Make sure you guys have been keeping up with the channel. I'm gonna start giving you guys more specific bets, but I had a really great week again with the betting. Pick video didn't go too great, just straight up money line, but I'll get more in depth with the betting videos going forward. But guys, that's neither here nor there. Straight to the point of this video, UFC London just wrapped up. Tibora versus Aspinall. And I'm gonna get straight into it, guys. First fight of the night was Filo versus Daniel Perez. I thought that Daniel Perez was gonna be able to get that forward pressure going, and actually hurt Filo, which he actually did. He just was being very stupid and didn't follow him to the floor, which resulted in him getting himself choked out. So it was actually hilarious to see. Like, I love to see when people make really bad decisions, and especially for a guy like Perez who got a second chance to be in the UFC. He had a fight on Dana White Contender Series, lost, came back in the UFC debut, and just does that. He hurt Filo multiple times and didn't follow him to the floor, just wanted him to get back up. So it was kind of dumb to see. But next up we have Bruno Brazil versus Shannon Banan. Shannon Banan is a bum. That's all I'm gonna say. Shannon Banan is a literal bum. One thing I'm gonna start doing for sure, I'm gonna start automatically fading any female fighter that's making their debut. If they're not a heavy, pure wrestler, I'm not betting on them. Like, nowadays, I'm not trying to be sexist or nothing. The women MMA fighters that have been debuting have been terrible.
I'm like, what the hell is going on?
So bad, it's not even funny. Like, she could have won that fight had she just put some pressure on and stopped with the stupid side kicks and the stupid. I'm just done. I'm done about that. Bruno Brazil got the win. Credit to her. Proud of her. Very glad. I'm just upset she didn't get the knockout. At that point, she should have knocked Shauna out. So that was upsetting. Next up, we had Chris Duncan versus Yanal Ashmos, and this fight is pretty simple. Chris Duncan landed a leg kick, not a leg kick, a kick to the arm. It was a head kick attempt, but Yanal blocked it with his arm, and his arm was pretty much useless after that. So Duncan was pretty much able to go to work the rest of the fight and win by decision. Next up, we had Ketlin Vieira versus Penny Kianzad. And I thought that Penny would have had way better takedown defense, but she didn't. Her takedown defense was known to be historically like an 83-88% between that range. And she just got absolutely controlled the first 2 rounds. She had a good 3rd round, so she did finish strong as I thought she would, but she just completely gave up the first 2 rounds. And yeah, that's just how she lost unanimously. Next up, we had Mahmoud Murata versus Brian Barberena. And as I suspected, Mahmoud's wrestling and his striking was going to be too much. He ended up getting 13 takedowns. I didn't know he was going to shoot that much, but like I said, guys, if he was going to not dominate Kyle Barallo, but he had 2 takedowns on Kyle Barallo and a reversal and like 5 minutes of control time. So if he can do that to Kyle Barallo, who's going to be he's going to be ranked at middleweight very soon. If he can do that to him, he could do that to Brian Barberena for sure. So he ended up getting 13 takedowns. I think he even got a knockdown or 2. So he had a really good night in the office and won by unanimous decision. Next up, we had Mick Parkin versus Jamal Pogues. I picked Mick Parkin to win for sure, but I think Jamal Pogues lost the fight when he came in so heavy. Like, coming in like you just ate 10 cheeseburgers. Like, bro, come on, you clearly didn't care about this fight. Even if you're at heavyweights, like heavyweights do that BS all the time. Like, you're not Daniel Cormier, and even then Daniel Cormier wasn't even coming in that heavy. But you can't be a heavyweight fighter and just come in so sloppy and expect to get a win. Pretty much the fight just played out on the feet for the most part. Mick Parkin was able to deny all the takedowns. I don't think that Pogues landed not 1 takedown. I want to double check. Yeah, and Pogues only attempted 1 takedown. So the fight played out on the feet. And if you did your research, or if anybody checked these 2 fighters out, you know that Mick Parkin is a clearly better striker than Pogues. So Pogues never had a chance on the feet. Mick Parkin by decision. Next up, we had Joel Alvarez versus Mark Jacasey. And the fight literally actually played out exactly how I thought it would play out. I thought that Mark Jacasey would kind of fall in love with those grappling exchanges, thinking he's a wrestler, and he was going to get himself choked out. Some people might say, oh, the little headbutt incident, whatever that incident was, played a part, but he was going to lose that fight regardless, in my opinion. It is what it is. He was trying to grapple, he was trying to be on top, and he ended up getting choked out, so it is what it is. And on to the next. Next up, we had Johnny Parsons versus Danny Roberts. I also did pick Johnny Parsons to win the fight, but I was just so unsure of it because I didn't get to see much film of him. I got to see some of his film in like Muay Thai fight, Muay Thai fights, I think it was. But it was a little bit kind of worrying because I didn't know too much, but I second guessed it. I just wish I put more money on him. I'd have been a way better week. But yeah, in suspected fashion, Danny Roberts is just not durable, right? The guy's been knocked out 4 times before then, obviously 5 times now, subbed twice. So at this point, he's been finished 7 times in his career, and like, he's not a smart fighter at all. He's a pretty stupid fighter. He was doing pretty decently in the fight, but then he just threw caution to the wind and started trying to, like, I don't know what the hell he was doing. Some fighters are just meant to be stupid, and they're just meant to put on entertaining time for the fans. I'm just sorry to say it, like, that's just the way how it is. Some guys really do go into the cage and think, oh, let me just put on a show, and then they end up just, getting beat most of the times. So, unfortunate for him. Next up, we had Daniel Marcos versus Davey Grant, and I had money on Daniel Marcos, but I'll be honest, Davey Grant got robbed. I don't think that Marcos did enough to win that fight. The only reason why the judges even gave it to him in a split decision was because of that busted nose that Davey Grant had. But Daniel Marcos didn't do much, and if I check the stats, I know for a fact he got outstruck. Yeah, he got outstruck with significant strikes, total strikes, body strikes, leg strikes, right? And the only thing that Marcos had on him was 21 to 17 head strikes. So you're telling me Marcos wins the fight because of four more head strikes and a bloody nose? I mean, it's obvious that Davey Grant got robbed. And I'm a realist. Like, I had money on Marcos. I picked Marcos to win that fight, but Marcos did not do enough. And that's a guy that I will not be betting money on ever again. Like, he's gonna have to go on a long win streak or get 2 good wins in a row before I even think about betting any kind of money on that guy. So he's gonna be an automatic fade. Next up, we got Lerone Murphy. Or we had Lerone Murphy versus what's his name again? Josh Coulibaly. And that fight played out the way I thought it should have. I did pick Coulibaly to win, and the only reason I picked Coulibaly to win was because of a little altercation that, this was kind of a stupid pick, but it was like a kind of a gut feeling thing. I don't usually do that for the most part, so don't worry about that, guys. It's not like a regular thing I do. But I did pick Coulibaly to win because of the little run-in that Lerone Murphy had with Nathaniel Wood, and I thought that, he kind of would be messed up a little bit about that and maybe not have as good as a performance as he really should have. But Lerone Murphy did just that. He had the takedowns, he had some control, he almost got a submission finish, was a better striker for the most part of the fight, and Coulibaly just really couldn't do much of anything. I don't know if they counted the knockdown. He even got a knockdown. It was like a slight kick to the body that kind of grazed like underneath the solar plexus, right, that area. So it dropped him. So Lerone Murphy just had a great performance. He's a great fighter, like, you know what I'm saying? So that didn't surprise me. I just went on a whim and said, oh, he's having a little altercation, maybe he might lose. But we've seen that happen with guys like, I'm forgetting his name, Ilia Topuria. He had a run-in with Paddy Pimblett, all those crazy run-ins, and then he still goes out there and dominates. So some guys are that good where that's not gonna really interfere with their performance too much. It's just another day being a fighter, pretty much. So next up we had, we had Faraz Ziam versus Jai Herbert, and just like Danny Roberts, Jai Herbert, I'm sorry, man. Some of them England guys are very dumb. Like, he is very dumb. I'm just gonna say it. He's very stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean in terms of fight IQ. The guy's an idiot. He kept trying to force clinch exchanges that he just wasn't winning. He was getting outstruck. Faraz Ziam was landing the better strikes. Even Ziam got the takedown on Herbert when Herbert was forcing forcing the clinching exchanges, the grappling exchanges, and you would think that he'd change it up and switch it up. Even with Leon Edwards in his corner, he still couldn't do anything. So guys, that goes to show, just because someone's in the corner, unless you're from shoot the box, like Charles Dubron, or Charles Oliveira, if you're from that camp, you have a chance, because they fight crazy. So they'll go for the finish. Camps like that have a chance. But just because just because Leon Edwards is in the corner, it didn't mean that all of a sudden Jai Herbert was gonna get this cool win. Didn't happen that way. He lost all the striking exchanges. He lost the clinch exchanges for the most part. He got taken down, and he kept trying to clinch and hold on a cage, and it wasn't working for him. So I was actually happy to see him get that loss right there, because if you're gonna be that stupid and not realize it's not working out for you, then just take the loss. Take the loss and go back home. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. He took that L. Next up, we had Paul Craig versus Andre Muniz, and the one thing that I could say we found out from this fight is that Andre Muniz is a bum. He's a bum. As soon as you put him on his back, he has nothing to offer at all, zero to offer. He quits in there. It was crazy to see. I thought that Paul Craig going down to 185 would have affected his chin, but he looked really good on the scale. Like, once I seen him on the scale, I was like, whoa, he looks really good. that should have been a trigger to me in my head. Like, all right, he's not drained as I thought he would be. He's gonna be able to take punches. Let me put the money on Paul Craig. I didn't do it. I even thought about doing it mid-fight when I saw plus 300 odds, but I didn't do it. And that's just pretty much how the fight played out. Paul Craig was able to get top control and just pretty much end the fight with ground and pound. And he pretty much was able to get the takedowns when he wanted. I didn't expect Mooney's takedown defense to just be that horrible. But the problem with some of these BJJ guys is when you have such good BJJ, sometimes people don't even attempt to take you down. So when you're preparing for fights, you kind of know that, all right, I'm not gonna get taken down, so there's no reason to really focus too much of the time on that. It's like you kind of put more attention to the other aspects of the game versus saying, okay, I still need to make sure I have good takedown defense, and Muniz needs to work on that. He needs to work on his takedown defense because when he gets on his back, he doesn't have anything to offer. So unless he changes that for the future, he's gonna have a really tough time in the UFC, and he's probably gonna have a really, really quick exit very, very soon. So nonetheless, Paul Craig looked great. He's now ranked at middleweight. He could be insanely weird and dangerous at middleweight because he snatches up submissions quickly. He's just dangerous on the ground. He's dangerous on the ground. His striking looks a lot better. He's been working with the striking coach over the last couple camps. He even said it in his last fight. Obviously, that didn't play out the way he wanted to at light heavyweight, but his striking is getting better. So you have a Paul Craig where his striking is getting better and he's dangerous on the ground. Who knows what the hell can happen? You gotta watch out for Paul Craig at middleweight. So next up, we had Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Fili. I think this might have been fight of the night. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that had to be fight of the night. Yeah, I'm sure it got fight of the night. Yeah, Andre Fili dropped. He dropped Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood dropped him. Andre Fili had some good positioning on the ground. He could have got a finish with the ground and pound, but he went for a submission. And I think that Andre Fili overall just underestimated Nathaniel Wood, said he'd be too little, things like that. But the power surprised him. Nathaniel Wood's accuracy, I know for a fact, surprised him. The speed kills, and in the end, Nathaniel Wood ended up getting the victory. So it was a great fight, definitely the best fight on the card, I would like to think, and that's just how it played out. Nathaniel Wood won the fight by unanimous decision. Next up, we had Julia Stoliarenko versus Molly McCann, and I put some money on Juliana Stoliarenko because I knew, guys, you have to understand something, right? Doing the research about these fights is very important. I can give you the quickest breakdown possible. Julia Stoliarenko, all her other fights was at 135, and she had one fight. Her last fight was at 140. Those girls were too big for her. The last fight she had at 135, she actually won versus Jessica Rose Clark, another girl who's a great striker that's not too great on the ground. Molly McCann was going to suffer the same fate. If you look at all of Molly McCann's recent wins, they're all against strikers. And the last time she went against a grappler, she lost. So with that being said, what does that tell you? She's probably gonna lose this fight if Juliana Stoliarenko can get her to the ground, and I knew that Juliana would be able to do it because Molly McCann has no takedown defense. Like, no disrespect to Molly McCann, but that moment that she ran in the octagon with the fake replica belt, that's one of the cringiest moments in UFC history. And for her own sake, I hope that's not the last time that she ever gets to win. I hope that she can bounce back at some point and get a win because, man, she is. Here's the thing about women's MMA, right? The skill level is so low that anything can happen. You guys saw Amanda Nunes lose to Juliana Pena. Juliana Pena is what? It doesn't matter who she fights next. She's not winning. Mark my words. Come back to this video. She's not winning. So women's MMA is crazy as hell. But when you have somebody like Molly McCann, the styles, right, in terms of women's MMA, one's a grappler, right, that's very dangerous on the ground versus one that's a striker that has no takedown defense, you have to be careful. So it just played out that way for Juliana Stoliarenko. She's very deadly on the ground, and she's gonna be very dangerous at 125, super dangerous. Her striking looks to get, it looks like it's getting a little bit better too. She's been getting a little bit better with the striking. Some people might look at her record and say, oh my gosh, she lost so much, but guys, styles make matchups, and in this fight, Molly McCann had nothing to offer on the ground and nothing to offer with takedown defense. And if you're gonna be an MMA fighter, you can't keep running into the octagon with no takedown defense and no ground game. You have to go work on your game. If you gotta take a year or two off, do that. But running into the octagon constantly taking damage like that is just not worth it. So Molly McCann paid the price, and Juliana ended up getting the win. And last but not least, we had Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. And by the surprise of nobody, Tom Aspinall got a first off finish. The exchanges were pretty quick. He was pretty safe on the feet. Didn't shoot, didn't go for a takedown, and he was able to get Marcin Tybura out of there with a straight 1-2. So overall, guys, the card was really good. wait, would I say really good? It was a decent. I'll say this. It was a decent card. There was a lot of decisions on there, so it's not like there was finishes all across the board. It was a decent card, but that's gonna do it, guys. I gotta get back to work. I'm gonna be doing more videos in terms of UFC 291. I gotta make sure I do the pick video for you guys, DraftKings videos, and I'm gonna do the bet videos for you guys too. I'm gonna add that too, so you guys can see what bets are the best ideas to do. And yeah, make sure you guys drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video, man. Peace.